Hello, everyone, and welcome. First of all, please allow me to explain the title a little bit. I haven't been feeling all that well in the past couple of weeks, so I couldn't really cover as many topics as I would have liked to. So now I'm still not 100%, but I do have enough strength right now to kind of offer a mashup, a rather chaotic mixture of everything that I can cover that I left out in the past couple of weeks. And of course, these I find very important. So I'm gonna use this opportunity to speak as much as I can about every very important energy that is either taking place in the present moment or is upcoming very, very soon. And as the title says, that funny word, zacusca, that is in the Balkans and not just a special dish where it's composed of a multitude of vegetables mixed in together, and it's like a savory spread type of thing. So it's a multitude of everything. You know what I mean? So this is what my video is gonna be like, a little bit of everything. And before I begin, I would just like to thank absolutely everyone who helped me when I was down. It really, really meant a lot. So the first thing that I would like to mention, probably the base of this zacusca, is Pluto. But I'm not gonna go into great detail because me and every other astrologer out there has so much material about Pluto. So if you'd like, just check out, for example, my Pluto and Aquarius special video where I speak about the longer effects of Pluto and Aquarius and so much more. But still, in a nutshell, Pluto is right now, as we speak, I'm recording this on the 15th of November, when we also have a very, very powerful Uranian full moon in the sign of Taurus. And besides that, also today on the 15th of November, and this is going to be the next component of our mixture, Saturn is standing still in the sky today, going direct. So, very important, very noticeably present in our lives in so very many ways. This stationary Saturnian energy, I can definitely feel it. And everyone I kind of know feels it in their own way. But of course, this doesn't, even though it's heavy because it's Saturn, right? We can't expect butterflies from Saturn, especially in the sign of finality, Pisces. So it is heavy, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Heavy we can manage. But going back to Pluto, Pluto is for the last time in our lifetimes for the next 200 plus years in the sign of Capricorn, finishing its job, and on the 19th of November it is going to go back permanently in the sign of Aquarius. Now, of course, this 19th of November in itself may not, but may also, because right now the energies can be like very, very precise to the date. If the situation is like that, if the situation meets the criteria, so to speak, but let's not go to the laser precision of Pluto. Let's speak about the larger period because we are still going to be feeling the Pluto finishing Capricorn even when it's already in Aquarius for a couple of, realistically speaking, weeks, because Pluto will need to move ahead at least a tiny little bit for the Aquarian theme to be, uh, predominant. while it is at 0 degrees, of course, the Aquarius energy is online, everything is being set up. Setup also, this is a very quick setup because Pluto is still in its shadow path. It retrograded from, I don't have the exact, but I hope my memory doesn't fail me. Roughly 2 degrees, 3 degrees of Aquarius. So until it gets back there, it's still working with Capricorn simultaneously. So Capricorn, and we do see this so clearly, especially on the world stage, because our personal lives, with Jupiter being retrograde in Gemini, we may be a tiny bit hyper subjective to what's going on in our personal lives, but it is meant to be that way, so nothing wrong with that. But collectively speaking, it's so starkly there. And let me give you a certain type of example. Well, Pluto is the big money. Capricorn, of course, top-down authority, governments, leaders, institutions, everything that is organized to function and be a kind of support column for anything in society. It needs a hierarchy, a leadership, a function. You get where I'm going. And Pluto reveals the exact state of that. And the exact state, it shouldn't even be polarized in the sense that what we see is how things stand in the present moment. And nothing in life, not even at a very powerfully singularized and singularized in polarity, right? The very essence of Aquarius, the two glyphs, the two waves, the glyph of Aquarius, the two waves, the fixed, rigid, permanent duality of it. Within Capricorn, Pluto is lasering down on the two opposing, or not even, it doesn't even need to oppose the two main sides, because I do believe that's the best word here, the sides, because sides, no one says they have to be in conflict, even if they might be opposites of each other. Conflict is optional, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that Pluto is revealing the truth, and even though the big picture is pretty grim, pretty ugly, pretty tearful, right? I'm very certain that there are many cases where it also reveals something very, very positive, something very Pluto powerful in a good sense, something which passed all trials and still is Capricornian in nature. It is evolving, it is changing. That is the transformational power, because what passed the trials and tribulations, symbolically of the Plutonian element, that became immediately the future. That is uncorrupt, that is pure, that is stable, that is meant to be. So that remains, and it evolves and it grows. So there's also the positive side to it. And before, the positive side is also supported by the fact that as Pluto, maybe not necessarily right now on the 15th of November, but going back a few weeks, as it left Capricorn, as it is leaving Capricorn, it held a grand sextile, a very potent, powerful, creative, figuring it out, transforming it, alchemizing it, giving it a new meaning aspect with Neptune and Uranus. Uranus is figuring out and the ingenious part. Neptune is, well, ultimately I can shape it and mold it into, I can alchemize it into everything. And Pluto, the power is where it revealed itself to be. So, of course, what we see right now is ugly. But maybe in a few years, we will also be able to look that which is very much positive in the eye, because that will be the only thing left standing tall and proud and untouched. So we just need to wait a few years for the tower moment, right, in tarot. The rubble, the debris to clear off, and Pluto, ruling the sign of Scorpio, is also that the cleanup. Yes, because that's how nature works as well. That which fell and decayed ultimately is going to be cleaned up by nature's very own element, ants or microorganisms, or but that's also Pluto, the transformation, the consumption. And we are seeing all of this played out on the world stage. We just need to look at the leaders, what's going on, and perhaps what's going on is a certain kind of reality. We might want to say, well, it's not my reality. Yes, but we do need to make that obvious to the divine spheres that I didn't contribute to that. That's not my truth. The more we make it very obvious that we didn't want it, that it's, I'm not saying to wash hands and take off blame. I'm just saying it to express that right now in the eternal present, you don't want it that way. And that's it enough for greater changes to occur. However, before we get there, we have to look at what is the truth. And this truth is not the great conspiracy of all things, or not rooted in this permanent mediatic warfare, information, battling other information, what's true, what's not, the show really of everything, but rather it's such an objective truth, such a subjective truth, that what is being shared doesn't matter whatsoever, because the truth is how we feel about this, and only our own emotions can answer that. And chances are we are not delighted of what we are seeing, what is Pluto showing us. So that's when, as it gets into Aquarius, the Aquarian, how should I say, slogan, where we see presidential campaigns, the slogans and the is aggressive. Like it wants to dig itself into your brain, right? It's that aggressive. No worries, because Pluto's slogan in Aquarius is going to be equally as insistent when it comes to freedom, liberty, equality. Everyone is truly just part of the big network of souls. And to sprinkle something on this, it will coincide next year when the South Node leaves Libra and enters Virgo to transit through. Virgo is discrimination. Virgo is labeling. Virgo is when we differentiate. Understand this in any way, shape, and form. South Node is we have to release the bad criteria and embrace new criteria. Exactly, Aquarius. So this is where, oh, I'm gonna get into trouble for this, but let's just Pluto. If Pluto is truthful, then so can nationalism, but don't necessarily understand it highly politically, but just the big idea of what it is, feeling that you belong. That's absolutely Mars in Cancer, and Mars is long retrograde. Yes, you need to feel that you belong somewhere or not. That's also a truth, and that's also does the same thing, even if it's but if it gets evil, no, South Node and Virgo. For the ancients, Virgo was not the, how should I say, the sign that we feel today. It is the virgin, the pure. Virgo was pretty dark, slavery, cruelty, and that discrimination. Or you know what I mean. You're a slave because I'm a lord, and noble blood because that's also Virgo. Um, so South Node and we need to release that which is toxic, evil, uh, ultimately very, very bad, harmful. A big detox. Virgo is, how should I say, almost on the same rank as Scorpio and Pisces. Very good for elimination and detox and to clean out. Yeah. So South Node and Virgo, a big clean out. You can just observe this time period when the South Node, so something May last year or something like that, entered into Libra, and this 1.8 months that 18 months that it spent there, what happened to diplomacy? You can very well see the release. You can very well see Libra, the darkest side of Libra, being revealed as it for what it is. The fake diplomacy, the hypocrisy, non-confrontationalism when it's harmful, cowardice, fake pacts, fake agreements, lies ultimately. Because when you promise something and you even when you promised, you know that it's not good, that's a lie, right? And it can be legally binding. It South Node in Libra, Black Moon Lilith in Libra. So that's the air. When it gets into Virgo, let's apply what we learned from all this philosophical, legal, moral Libra expression of the energy, what we saw play out. All the lessons that we learned based on that, we're gonna use intelligently, rationally, safe and soundly to have an inner filter. What we allow, what we not. And when we see that we are Libra, right? The seventh house, others, under a certain kind of influence of others, of society, of community, of family, of spouse, of children, anyone. And we do not necessarily consent to that influence, we draw the boundaries. We eliminate that influence and we embrace our own, whatever authentic it is. May it be idea, opinion, will, whatever. So this is definitely going to be part of the energy. And this also is, in a way, linked to what Pluto is finishing and is going to be restarting in the sign of Aquarius / finishing in Capricorn. So this for the immediate, I would say. Because the big picture, the technology and artificial intelligence, space travel, the dark side of technology and empirical knowledge, that is in the next 20 years. There's a lot of time to speak about that and see that play out. But for the now, what I said earlier, how the world is changing literally before our eyes, is the most important expression of this energy ultimately. Now Saturn, the other Saturn in the sign of Pisces, preparing to go direct today. Very karmic, ultra karmic, if I'm allowed to, color it with certain words. The sign of finalities, the sign of the spirit, the sign of the unconscious, both collective unconscious, the distant past, what happened when, prophecies, the darker side of religion. All of that is playing out on the world stage and also in our lives. Family karma, our inner world, our psyche, our nervous system. You might wait on a minute, Zen. Why nervous system? Pluto semi-square the Saturn. Pluto almost in Aquarius. Aquarius is the higher nervous system, right? So the nervous system, we are really being, how should I say, paused in our own unique way. Me, for example, it is very obvious that it was my health that paused me. But every person with their own unique pause in life right now, that is putting you on a halt to prepare yourself in truth. What does that mean? Well, this Saturn direct builds itself upon the other aspect that I would like to focus on right now, which is the upcoming, the second big square, and this is very important, between Saturn and Jupiter. Because Saturn, as it will start to move direct around I would like to say the 20th of November. The aspect won't be exact yet, but it's already so deeply operational on the 20th that we can very much consider it. And it will, this energy of the square and its effects will go well into January. So I'm not even going to give you an exact date because, of course, if I'm not mistaken, the exact date is somewhere around 26th of November or somewhere no, sorry, December, when the square is exact 25, 26, 20, something like that. But its effects are gonna be like very wide. So it doesn't limit itself to a date, not even to a week. Anyway, why is this important? We had this square first time this summer. But this summer, the theme was so very obvious. We can't trust anything that is information and is being shared to us artificially. But we can trust our own inner guidance. I'm not even sure what word to use here because it's way more than guidance, our own inner truth. However, we can only trust that if we're really in tune with it, if we are really embracing it. The intelligence of the inner animal, the gut intelligence. For other people, more intuition. For other people, more even higher class, like prophecy. And it doesn't matter what it is when we simply cannot trust the information that is being shared to us. And when I say cannot trust, this was also part of the Jupiter Saturn square. Cannot trust is not a how should I say, hypothesis, or we're not speaking about something that might be true, or we're speaking about something that is really like that and it's happening and it's not it's real, we cannot trust, and this is a fact. This isn't a speculate. We cannot trust, and this proved itself to be real. So what do we do then? Exactly what I said. Refine the other senses that we can trust, because you can imagine our ancestors didn't have internet. They, if some, they barely had like telephone. They barely had how you call that? The Morse stuff. Anyway, telegraph or telegram or something like that. Like they barely had mass communication to, and surprise, surprise, they were so much more better as guardians of world and nature or morals or whatever than us. So they were doing absolutely fine. That means we have their genes, we can do absolutely fine as well. And this is the day and age that it came to that. So that was the summer expression. This winter's expression, at least on my hemisphere, so maybe it's summer where you are if you're listening to this from the other hemisphere. So what I'm saying here is that this upcoming expression, of course, will build on that, but this is where it has to prove to us how very safe and sound and superior our alternate guidance system is and was. Wherever our gut, intuition, prophecy, however you figured your life out, led you from the summer to this point, that bears lessons and that bears medals, trophies for you, for your ingenuity, for your courage, for however you embodied both Jupiter and Saturn, and however you made that square of theirs not hurt you and send you into panic, mental chaos, panic attacks, anxiety, sleeplessness, depression, but rather the opposite. How you found healthy hope, healthy faith, healthy wisdom, healthy life motto, or healthy lower mind activities to get you here. So those are your treasures and you deserve the medal for that. So besides other expressions, the medal, your own decoration has to be part of this, because Jupiter and Saturn demand gratitude, even to the self, from the self, when you've done something really, really good. On the other hand, what do I do next? This is where now you're figuring out, all of us are figuring out the future, that part of the future which is not going to be handed down to us, Saturn, that which is our duty to do for ourselves, and the fact that there is no help available in the world. And why do I say that? Because we are living times that no other ancestor or anyone in human form ever lived, right? So which means no experience, no knowledge, no nothing. But we are gifted with so many tools and talents, and everyone has something extreme about them talent-wise, right? And since Age of Aquarius, we're all just one web. That's perfect, right? Specialized units working together in perfect love. That's the big picture. That's the evolutionary intent. So we have everything we need to, and this is what the square will do, the next phase. The last phase, however, is gonna be somewhere in June 2025, but that is gonna be different because that final square is not gonna be from Gemini Pisces, rather Aries Cancer. And Aries is the initiative, the first breath. Saturn, let's make it real. We're making something real. And then Jupiter in Cancer, how do we find the right balance? Because Cancer and Jupiter is very, very, very happy in Cancer. So that's really, really good. Cancer is the people, community, nurture, love, integrating the wisdom. Cancer is also when we create traditions. Capricorn is holding and keeping traditions. Cancer is where traditions get a meaning. Cancer is the emotional meaning of the tradition, and that's what creates it ultimately. So that's very good energy. But the two need to be good bedfellows. The two need to be working with all the truths, Gemini and Pisces. Gemini, the mind, the rationale on all levels, even the lowest level, the lowest perception level. Pisces, the deep unconscious, the psychology, that which is deeper than the mind can go. And these two are working to reach a balance, to reach cooperation, to reach harmony. And that means they're learning lessons, figuring it out. This is true, and it's my treasure from now on. This is not true. Not only will I discard it, I will even erase it from my soul matrix. So that means clearing the past. And when this energy gets into Aries Cancer, Aries Cancer, we need to do something practically with it, because Saturn demands practical. And in Aries, it's real. It's already earthly. It's already in existence. And Jupiter in Cancer, let's nurture that. But you see, we need to be good parents and responsible, diligent parents to whatever we are creating or beginning anew, or Aries, right? Because sometimes when you are excessively nurturing and kind and forgiving and loving and to your child, you can spoil them and you can create a monster so easily. Apply this symbolism in your own situation. May that be a relationship, a project. We will need to find balance. And Jupiter in Cancer reminds me of the Temperance Tarot card. Temperance Tarot card is correlated to the sign of Sagittarius, right? But Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And when Jupiter is in an exalted place in the sky, other than its home, that means that Sagittarius, its home, its domain is extra flowy, extra loving. Cancer, extra optimistic, extra magical. That's good, but it can also spoil. The other energy that I need to speak about is, of course, Mercury. Now, Mercury is right now on the 15th of November at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. So it is going to be opposing Jupiter. It is already, but it will perfect its opposition to Jupiter. And this is very, very important because they are in each other's signs, which means individually they might be exiled. They might be in a furthest away from home, but because they speak to one another and they're in each other's houses, that this actually turns this energy to something very beneficial, because they give each other's the instruction manual. Jupiter gives Mercury how to use Jupiter's castle according to the instructions. Mercury gave Jupiter the instructions how to use Gemini well. So this is a saving grace. This, because it's an opposition and it's Jupiter and Mercury, and Mercury and fire sign. Of course, this can lead to the typical, and Mercury is in shadow, quick words, anger, temper, or big promises, big words, big lies, let's be honest. Delusion, not being very realistic, over promising, over, how you say that, overestimating, all, yeah. But the positive is actually when something is rooted in deep wisdom, chances are it can't fail totally and utterly. It still has to succeed at a certain level. Wisdom pays off. And this aspect, very practically, very good for travels and pilgrimages, visits, business stuff, speculations, international affairs, figuring stuff out legally. However, this is just one of the energies, because Mercury is going to go retrograde. So Mercury retrograde begins on the 26th of November and lasts until 16th of December. But Mercury realistically is only gonna go back to this 22nd degree of Sagittarius, where it will retrograde from around February, if I'm not or January. I better look this up because this is important. So let's see when Mercury comes back to 22 degrees of Sag. And that is 3rd of January. So that's when Mercury retrograde realistically ends. And Mercury can cover new domain, new ground. So, and in Sagittarius, again, legal stuff. If you're waiting for a big verdict, Mercury retrograde will do something. Either set a date or clarify something. Even when you're in the midst of it, it might feel, oh my goodness, overwhelming, very overwhelming, stressing, all of that. But it can really get the job done. Another look on this 3rd of January, Mercury holds an exact quincunx with Uranus. That's surprise, surprise. Anyway, travels, Mercury retrograde, back and forth, and Mercury retrograde is international and borders. This can be where, and I can really see this happening. An airport, open, closed, open, closed, open, closed on a weekly basis because of either wars or you can imagine the rest of the show. There's that. How reliable is that? Something affecting international travel. Also, something big, because Jupiter is big, with technology. The lower expression of technology is Mercury. Air and air travel. So issues around that. But as I said, both sides of the spectrum. This can very well also represent an accident because it wants to reveal how unsafe something is. That's very much Jupiter opposing Mercury. Well, the cold hard truth. It wasn't as safe as you hoped Jupiter as it would be, but it can also reveal something that is ingenious, something that is better than the textbook, something that is better than the official, right? this is the case when, let me give you an amateur who didn't go to school and doesn't have studies, but they have auto learning or practice, whatever, is that much better than the world's number one professional. When the amateur towers over the world number one professional, we'll see situations like that. And I already have an image in my mind where just a spirited or intelligent citizen squishes, of course, symbolically, the world's top lawyer in, for example, human rights. You know, we'll see situations like that under this Mercury retrograde. But of course, like always, Mercury retrograde, redo, rethink, reanalyze, redream. In Sagittarius, maybe revisit, re-experience, re-envisage, re-hope, if that makes sense. Put even the biggest themes in your life back on the drawing board. Everything that has to do with deep faith, the biggest life philosophy, all of those either back to the drawing board or in the trash can. Why? Because Sagittarius is also freedom. And Sagittarius is the most extreme freedom of all the signs. It truly has no limits. And it's the luminous expression of Jupiter. Pisces also has no limit, but Pisces is so different. Pisces is not dynamic. It's flowy, but like a mist. Sagittarius is the fire, the quantum fire. So this is why, even if under Mercury retrograde this season, you will find binning, trashing your religion, your biggest life philosophy, worldview, the biggest element of faith. Not only is it not going to be a tragedy, but what will replace it immediately? Your own spark of genius or divine download. Why? Mercury, after it will start covering new ground after its retrograde, it's aiming for the galactic center at 27 degrees of Sag, the heart of God, right? The divine mind. It's definitely gonna let's say communicate something, because Mercury the messenger, right? So, but I'll be speaking about Mercury retrograde as we get into it. The other energy that I would like to speak about is Mars, because Mars retrograde starts very soon on the 6th of December, and it lasts until the 24th of February 2025. But realistically, it's much longer than that because Mars has to go back to 6 degrees of Leo. So 24th of February, it is just when it stops going backward in Cancer and prepares to go back on its shadow path, which will take a long time. Of course, the note here, when I say go backwards, it's not in physical reality. This is only astrological terms, because we have the optical illusion that the planet is actually going backwards in the sky, but it is not. But of course, the big picture of Mars retrograde is as I said earlier, a longer term energy. And I'm not going to be speaking, but the shorter terms, that which we can already feel, those are the ones that I'm going to be speaking about. So Mars opposing Pluto, but from Leo. So this is an outer sign opposition still. When Pluto is going to go back to Aquarius, then it's going to be like a proper opposition. So Mars starts its retrograde. How should I say? Feeling Pluto's effect. But this is nothing new because Mars and Pluto opposed each other when they were in Cancer Capricorn axis. So we already had a good taster of this, whatever made us powerless. Just now, around the end weeks of October, the beginning of November, what it is in life that made us feel powerless, but how did it also empower us in a different way? That is what Mars is going to start executing in the sign of Leo. Courage, the heart, creativity. Do I have the love it takes? Do I have the passion, determination, energy, the love ultimately that it takes? And Mars is very powerful and it loves being in the sign of Leo. So this is the saving grace, because as Mars starts going retrograde, it will perfect the opposition once again with Pluto. And that will be a big moment because it will reveal to us how the power dynamic in our life shifted from end of October until that present moment in the future. So somewhere in December, I imagine. And then much later on, the opposition will be retaken a third and final time. But I'm not even going to mention that right now because it's well in 2025. But that will be the big conclusion to this is how we rearranged our power dynamic in our lives. That will be the conclusion. This is how it's done. And now we're just living that. Which area of life this is for you, of course. Is it with love and romance? Is it relationship with children, with your children or youth? Is it with your own creative, how should I say, desires, but projects or plans or your relationship with your own creativity? It's so very multi-sided. What courage, what self-expression, what self-love, what even siesta, taking it easy, enjoying, savoring life means to you. Would you have any wounds here? Those will definitely be looked at under this Mars retrograde, because as soon as it will re-enter Cancer, that's the past, that's our community, where we belong, where we belong, where we feel we belong, better said, or not, what it is in our even race, nationality, ethnicity, culture, that we find great pride in, and we see. Remember what I said earlier, where Cancer creates traditions that we want to preserve because it's that beautiful, and the good pride, Leo, and that which we are ashamed of and need to wash out generationally or radically. Because a culture can only be a culture, nation, call it whatever you want, divide it however you want, can only be washed out by the living, by the people actually in the present moment being it. If they say, no, I don't wish this, whatever that is, to be part of, let me give you an example. I'm ethnically Hungarian, of the Hungarian blood or whatever, then I stop it now. I denounce it. I break the spirit contract with it. You know what I mean? And this is what Mars retrograde in Cancer is going to be about. Collectively, yes, but also individually, family karma. what things, and when I say things, of course, I'm not referring to the material things, but rather patterns, genetics, behaviors, dark side, dark tendencies, the flaws, I inherited from my ancestors. Because besides the talent and the good stuff, there's also a lot of bad stuff. What do I do with? I need to own that, own up to that. It's not my fault. But if it's in my blood and in my genes and it does determine my reaction or behavior in an indirect, unconscious way, it has power over me. So now I have power back over it by telling it what is allowed to influence me with and what it's not. Right? So this is how it's going to play out. Anything that, as I said, have to do where we belong, it will be looked under a Martian microscope. What do I allow? How does that go get along with my present and my future oriented free will? Because if something is hindering me and that something is ancestral, you denounce it because it's something, just a soul thing. No, I don't wish to be part of this any longer. And of course, it's not as simple as that, but it's just like, how else should I word it? So that will be part of this energy. But on a more practical note, real estate, house, anything that has to do with house, upgrade, or Mars. A house can very well have power over someone. Because, for example, I'm so unhappy, but my house is so lovely and nice. Check the energy, check the past, check the history, check the non-physical parts of the house, for example. Or I wish to move, but the house has an indirect power over me that the real estate market is so bad or unstable or whatever in the present moment that, like it or not, I have to wait it out. So that's an indirect, but you get what I mean. This house, or what gives you safety, nurture, what's your shell, what's your protective bubble, your shield, that is going to be looked at under a very Martian microscope, and the power dynamics. How will that, and ultimately this energy will be really, really, really good for healing as well. And Mars, when it goes back into Cancer, it will hold water trine with Saturn. So there is a very strong divine good intent in this energy, regardless of how heavy, ugly, or not nice, or tearful, or they just bother us, or they irritate an inner psychological or emotional nerve, something that we see under this, or observe or see within the self, or family, or history, or whatever, under this Mars retrograde in Cancer. Of course, that won't be joyful, but remember, Mars, Saturn, Mars, Neptune trines give us the courage, the determination, the maturity, the purity, morality to still turn it to something very, very good. So whatever has undesired power over us to no longer, for us to no longer be under its hold. So I think I'm going to conclude it here. Thank you so much, everyone, again, who has helped me or has sent me good wishes, and until next time, bye for now.